Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's me, the Beard, and Jinx.
Hello.
We are here today to talk about something a little bit different.
Yes.
Not your normal battle report or backstage video, but today we are talking about Warhammer and mental health, and that combination being a very positive thing.
Yes.
So World Mental Health Day is coming up on the 10th of October. So we wanted to make a video just to highlight how much of a positive thing it can be for one's own mental health,
Yes.
But also for the wider community as well. I want to encourage some discussion, want to encourage some
support,
some conversation around it. Maybe not to make it such a, what's the word, a difficult subject to talk about. And normalize it a little bit and sort of celebrate the positive things that Warhammer and the community can do with one's own mental health. So we're going to discuss that in full in just a moment.
So I'm going to talk a little bit first about my own personal experience with mental health. Anyone who knows me, I do talk about this quite openly over on my Instagram, and whenever I'm having conversations with people, it comes up quite a lot. I do have anxiety. That has been quite bad in the past. I've struggled with things like leaving my house, sending simple emails. Just talking to people was really hard for me. It's something I've had an issue with, or not an issue, but it's something that's affected me my whole life, kind of as long as I can remember. And it did get particularly bad around the time of the pandemic when I wasn't doing as much, so I wasn't being reassured that life wasn't as scary as I thought it was.
We could have done without that.
We could have done without the pandemic, but it is what it is. I did actually end up reaching out because it got to a point that I was barely functioning. So I did reach out to kind of professional services at the time, and I did go through a course of cognitive behavioural therapy, which did help. It gave me some really good tools to cope with it. But I found I was still not quite myself. So kind of at the beginning of the year, when I was getting back into Warhammer again and painting, and I made the decision to try and reach out to the community more, which I'd never done before. I'd been in the hobby for almost 8 years at this point, and I'd never actually reached out to the community. And it just started with, I want to comment on people's posts, I want to message people and just try and build up my own skills in being able to talk with other people to make it seem less scary so I wasn't so alone. And what this kind of turned into was me being welcomed into this really warm, really welcoming community that made me feel like I belonged there and I was at home. I have all friends now, which is something I couldn't really say before. People that I can talk to, not necessarily about mental health, but people I can just talk to in general to make me feel better about myself and just make me be able to enjoy life and not have to worry about it so much. So definitely for me, this community has been a massive, massive help for my mental health and massive support for me. I have people to talk to now about my mental health. I have people who understand what I'm going through because I do talk about it quite openly. So I found that my friends who also have anxiety talk to me about it a bit more, which has been great. I can support other people, and equally I have things, I just enjoy everything more. I'm not so scared because I've got this fantastic community around me and I'm doing fun things, so I don't need to worry, because why worry when you're having fun? So that's been really, really great for me personally, and my own mental health.
Yeah, I think I have a similar similar sort of experience. Mine sort of comes from social anxiety, definitely. It tends to manifest itself quite randomly, like there's no rhyme or reason to it. I think it's been there for a long time, but I've only really been focusing on it in the last couple of years. I've also reached out for professional help, which sort of set me on a path to dealing with it. It's not something that can be fixed. Unfortunately, there's no cure for it, which is unfortunate. But it's something that I think a lot of people deal with, and can deal with in seclusion. Like I certainly did for a number of years. I tried to sort of do it all myself, and it got to a point where that was unsustainable, we'll put it that way. But since then, just talking to people about it is just a huge relief, and that's really that's what's helped more than anything else so far. So I definitely encourage people in the community to talk to people about it if there's an opportunity to. Like, there's plenty of people that are in a position where they can mention it online, which is great, especially through the pandemic as well, because we weren't really seeing much of other people. That was one of the benefits of the internet at that time.
Yes.
But also like personal hobby time as well. I tend to find things like painting and building and the hobby aspect very meditative.
It's a very therapeutic practice.
Yeah.
It's grounding.
Yeah, totally. And for something that can manifest itself randomly, it is nice to have a spot at home where you can just sort of sit down and just focus on something else for a bit and reflect a little bit. But yeah, we definitely encourage people to if you're in a position to sort of share your experiences with other people, whether that be through Instagram or Facebook or in real life even more, and the intention here is just to sort of share that this is a really positive space for mental health. I think certainly for a community that's mainly male at the moment.
Yep.
That's changing, but it is certainly very, very male dominated at the moment. It is traditionally something that's not talked about that much with males, and it's difficult to. I like I said before, it took me years to be able to talk about it, but being able to do it for the first time just changes everything entirely.
And there is absolutely no shame in struggling with mental health or having mental health problems. It's something most people experience in their lifetime in one form or another. And you'll be surprised how many people feel the same way you do and just want someone to reach out and talk to about it.
Yeah, it sucks. Like, it's rubbish. It's
not easy.
Yeah,
but it's easier if you've got ways to get through it.
Yeah.
And you're not on your own, because you're not.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to share experiences with other people, whether that be positive or negative, it really does help in being able to deal with it, I guess. Like I said before, like there's no way to switch it off. You might go for a long time without it, or you might be going through an episode where you're dealing with it a lot and more than you have done before. So having, even if it's just one person or friends or family or professionals as well, it really does help to talk about it. So yeah, we encourage you to do so.
Yes. Coming from more of a mental health background, because I do have a bit of a background in mental health, community and hobby are actually two things that are really important to just give you the tools to be able to cope a little bit better when you are having those bad days. So community is really good for having people around you to support you. Again, you don't have to be talking to these people about your mental health, although if you can, that's fantastic. But just having people around you to kind of normalize how you're feeling and help bring you out of that space a little bit can be really helpful. And then for your hobbies, if you've got something you can focus on that isn't necessarily how you're feeling, it can just, again, help bring you out of it a bit more and just normalize things. It's all about, when you're having bad days, getting back to your normal routine, because the bad days will pass, but if you linger on them, it's harder to kind of move on from those feelings. So being able to continue doing those things, being part of the community, continue on with your hobbying shenanigans, it does help, and it gives you the tools to keep going and move forward.
Absolutely. I think regular maintenance, I think, is the way I tend to think of it. Being able to manage it a little bit.
I mean, it's like eating healthy.
Yeah.
Right. You gotta eat right to keep your body healthy. Yeah. You've got to do these things that you enjoy doing to keep your mental health healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mental health healthy.
That's a good word.
So just to summarise now, excuse me, a couple of things to look at if you are wanting to seek some help. Mind is an amazing place to go. There's a huge amount of resource on their website, and there are people to talk to there as well. So that would be a one to check out. Samaritan's also a great one. I think potentially thought sometimes about as sort of crisis support, but it isn't necessarily the case. You can just pick up the phone and talk to someone if you'd like to do that. It can be a really good first port of call because it's completely anonymous, and it might be a better way of doing it rather than speaking to someone that you know. Again, completely up to you. Your GP is also a great person to talk to as well. And if you're comfortable doing so, you can just speak to friends or family or people in the community. But the emphasis here is just to talk about it. personally, not talking about it for years and years wasn't a great idea, and was really difficult. Like picking up the phone for the first time and speaking to someone was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
That first step is always the hardest.
That was rough. But as soon as you start that conversation, well, from my personal perspective anyway, there was a huge amount of relief. It wasn't an easy conversation and it wasn't fixed in that first conversation, but it sort of set me on a path to being able to deal with it properly to a point now where I'm keen to talk to other people about it. So yes, there'd be a few first things to try. We'll have a link in the description as well for places that you can go to. We'll do our best to find sort of like a global source of place as well, because Mind and Samaritans are UK based. But we'll see what we can do in terms of finding other ports of call for other parts of the world as well. So yes, that's about it really. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't really have anything else to add, but I guess we can kind of summarise very nicely with there's nothing to be ashamed of when you are having a bad time with your mental health. Talking to people about it is great. There's so many different organisations and people you can talk to. You can talk to the people in your life. You'd be surprised how many people feel the exact same way you do. And yeah, having that first step is really hard, but it's really worth it. And it sets you on the path to being able to cope a little bit better and having life be a little bit easier. And there's so many resources out there, both kind of professionally and mental health specific. But the hobby is really a good place for your mental health if you use it as such. I know it has definitely been for both of us. Yeah,
for sure. Well, if you want to start the conversation here, please do put something in the comments. We'll be there to respond if you want to talk to us specifically. But yeah, hopefully that's been useful and helpful. If you are suffering with mental health and you're managing it, well done, good for you. If you're suffering with it and you feel like you want to take the first step, go for it. Like, it's really hard. It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely worth doing, and it will definitely help progress going forwards. So that's it. That's it. Thank you for listening to us today. We hope that's helped. We'll see you all again in a video very, very soon.